It is 5 o'clock. We have a lot of business to get to today. For those of you that don't know, Kim is not able to join us today, so I'll be running the meeting. I'd like to call to order the Patricia Hannaford Regional Technical Career School District meeting for September 26th into session. And I would like to start with introduction of board members. Sharon, would you kick us off?
I'm Sharon Meacham. I live in East Middlebury. I'm a workforce and investment coordinator.
Oh, okay. Steve Fox, Middlebury.
Bill, you want to go? You're over there.
Is it out of order?
William Biederman, WIB from Middlebury.
And Mike,
Michael Giorgio, Middlebury.
no.
I'm next, right?
Oh, you.
Yeah. Christina Macklin. I live in North Ferrisburg, and I'm the Addison Northwest School District representative.
Dan Rosignol, I live in Addison, and I represent Addison Northwest at large.
Steve Orzek, excuse me, Addison Central School District here in Middlebury, and I am also the vice chair.
Nicole McTavish, I'm the superintendent and director here.
Okay. So I'd like to. Tricia, yes.
PCSD.
I don't think I missed anybody. I know people were up and moving around, getting food. Okay. So I'd like to entertain a motion to approve the agenda.
So moved.
And a second. Second. Unless there's any objection, I'll go ahead and say unanimous consent. Motion to approve the August 15th, 2024 meetings, meeting minutes from last month.
So moved.
Second. Any questions or objections? If there are none, I will approve by unanimous consent. And I apologize if it seems like we're going pretty fast. We got a lot to do tonight, and I want to get us out of here before 6. Well, maybe 6:30. Okay. Okay, on to public comment. Please, for those of you that haven't seen them, the public comment guidelines are above. Public comments are encouraged and welcomed at each regular board meeting during the 2 periods designated for public comment. Public comments are limited to 3 minutes per person. The first opportunity is for agenda items only, so that means the agenda items that we are speaking about tonight. Second is for commentary on any topic. Citizens will be called to make their statements by the board chair. Public comment regarding personnel matters, student or legal matters will not be heard by the board. No items raised during public comment may be acted upon by the board. After the speaker has made their statement, the speaker will be seated with no further debate, dialogue, or comment. Keeping those rules in mind, is there anyone in the room that would like to make a public comment? And I didn't see, do we have anyone online, or is it just Tricia?
Just Tricia.
Just Tricia. Okay.
Are we going to introduce our guest?
Well, we were coming to that because we have a student presentation, which I believe will introduce those guests. And Opie, are you ready?
Yeah.
I didn't know.
Yeah, I'm Brianna. I'm one of Ulti's students. This is Ulti. And I'm going to be presenting to you guys down in the lab space. If you want to come join us, I'll tell you about how we created a play lab space for our preschoolers.
Okay. I'm not sure how to do the session then. Do we have to?
I think you can just go
Okay.
and then just come back. Because
Okay.
we're not going to be discussing or voting. We're just going to be viewing the lab space, correct?
Correct, and we will keep it short and sweet, and we look forward to asking down in the middle.
Okay. Then could we recess? Yeah, I think it would be best to recess the session while we go take the tour, and then we will come back and resume. Okay?
Write down, write
intermission
down
at the
next
drive-in
or
theater?
Agenda is everything that was published in your packet. Unless there is any discussion or comments that people would like to make or questions they'd like to ask, I'd like to entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda.
So moved.
And a second. Okay, and were there any questions? Okay, not seeing any indication. Let's go ahead and move on. That brings us to item E, personnel items. Oh, we're doing good on time. Okay. These are 5 resignations, retirements, and new hires. If you'd like to look over that list, give you a moment. Oh, and welcome, Judd Markowski. No problem.
And Patrick is here if you'd like to introduce him.
Oh, yes. So let's see. Resignations and retirements, but we have a new hire, Patrick McMullen. And Patrick, would you like to introduce yourself and talk a little bit about?
Pat McMullen, about 35 years of experience or so automotive. Looking forward. Out of class last Friday. Very excited. Very excited to be here. It's something I've always wanted to do. So looking forward to it. So you got a really neat center here. It's awesome. So
Great.
very excited.
Welcome
Glad to
aboard.
be here. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks for coming.
And as you notice on the agenda, he will begin full-time October 7th. And hopefully everyone saw the email about the plan until then. So, yes, sure.
Was there a resume, Patrick? or
Yes,
did it
it's
have
in your
packet?
It's in the
packet.
packet.
Oh, I
but
didn't get
it's-
a packet.
Oh,
Yeah.
they're over on the table.
Oh, there.
Yeah.
And Kelly is here too. Kelly knows because she's retiring.
Okay. And Mike's not here.
Mike is not.
Okay.
He's ill.
Of special note, we have a retirement. Kelly Mills is here, and we'd like to thank her for her service. You have been here for 30 years.
30 years.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you.
But you are staying around this year.
That's right.
Yes, yes, I am.
Let's see. We have a presentation. I believe we have to vote on those.
We do.
So if I could get a motion, I believe we can do it collectively. We just have to enumerate and say who doing what.
I'll make the motion to accept the resignation of Mitchell Patterson, the retirement, unfortunately, of Kelly Mills and Mike Adaman, and the resignation of Barry Lane and the new hire, Patrick McCollum.
Okay, it's been moved. Second. Any discussion? And again, thank you, Kelly, for all your service to the district. We do really appreciate it. Okay, all in favor of accepting?
Did we get a second?
Yes.
Oh,
Yeah,
I'm sorry, I didn't
Dan-
hear.
Dan-
Sorry.
Bill and Dan both did.
Yeah, at the same time. If there's no further discussion, all in favor of accepting the personnel items, please say aye.
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 Anyone opposed or any abstentions? Okay, by unanimous consent, we've accepted all the personnel items. We have a presentation from our auditor who will be on at 5:30, so we've got about 10 minutes before that actually happens. And although the work we do at the board level is completely fascinating and interesting, Patrick, you are not obligated to stay for the rest of the session. You are welcome to stay, but
Thank you very much.
please avail yourself of the food if you'd like on the way out.
Thank you.
And following the presentation of the auditor, we have an executive session scheduled, which also we will be inviting the auditor to attend. So we're going to move on to the action items until that link is established. Will you guys let us know when he comes on? Thank you. Okay, action items.
I think we can only talk about number 3 until we have the executive session.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so action items that are associated with the executive session include items 1 and item 2. So it would be inappropriate to vote on those before the executive session. So we'll go on and move on to 3, which is approval of expenditure of gear funds on the 2 vans. Did everyone see that stuff in the material that was sent? Now, I
Can you
think,
just do a quick summary on that?
yeah, sure. Would you
Sure.
like to?
So we applied for a grant for $80,000 to purchase 2 vans. As you know, our van fleet is old and dying, and we don't think that we're actually going to be able to get them inspected this next round. But we luckily, David Roberts extraordinaire applied for $80,000 for us to purchase 2 vans because it became available from overage of Perkins monies at the state level. They cut some of the state monies loose for centers, which was excellent. And we won the grant. So because we have a policy that the board needs to approve purchase of a certain monetary value, I need the board to approve the purchase of these 2 vans in order for us to proceed using the funds. We believe that the vans that we're going to buy are right about $40,000. We may have to throw in a couple of $1,000s from the general fund, but we're going to be very close to the 80,000 mark because that's the mark we were going for when we were getting quotes.
Those are grants, that's not money we have to pay back.
Correct. Grants.
Good.
Right.
Thank you very much.
Two vans for less than a couple of $1,000 sounds like a pretty good deal.
I move that we approve that expenditure.
Quickly.
Yeah.
Before they change their mind. Okay, so it's been moved and seconded, and if there's any further discussion, seeing none, I'll call the vote. All in favor, please say aye. Any opposed? And any abstentions? Okay, by unanimous again. You want to start the report of the board? We only got about 5 minutes.
I can do the superintendent report
Okay.
real quick if you'd like.
Go ahead.
Okay. So 3 things I want to talk about. One is just information for the board. I didn't feel like I needed to put it on a personnel item, but I do want to alert the board that we had originally hired Jess Danielle, who is our work-based learning person, as an administrator. However, as this story continues, you've heard this before, once she leaned into what it was going to take to get an administrative license in the state of Vermont, she decided that that was not worth it's a lot of work and it's a half-time job, very similar to the situation that Mitchell was in. So she is going to continue in the role, which we're thrilled, but she's going to continue in the role as on the ACE union. So she's going to be a union member. So she'll just be on a teacher contract rather than an administrator contract. Funnily, when we did that, she's actually going to make more money on the teacher contract than she was going to make on the administrator contract, which leads into some other thing which we're going to be talking about. But she's going to still be here. She's just going to be in a represented union now rather than as an administrative staff member. The other piece is on several of you are going to the conference, the VSBA conference, October 25th. We need somebody to volunteer to be our person that goes and votes for the Vermont Education Health Initiative and the Vermont School Board Insurance Trust. I have the paperwork here. So if anybody would like to volunteer to do that for us, there are 2 15-minute meetings which you attend. And if not, you can always vote someone who's not here to do it. But I do need somebody to represent us from the board level to go make these 2 votes for us.
I'm not sure who's going. I will be there, but I am going under the auspices of ACSD, which I can fill this role if necessary, but rather have, if multiple people are going, I'd rather have someone else take that responsibility.
I'm going, but I don't know exactly how the whole thing works. Will I be missing some very good things by sitting at these 15-minute meetings?
Most likely not.
And that's what I needed to hear. And will I go with the agreement of the board on which way to vote?
Normally, we send you with
Right.
how the
Okay.
board has voted, so it's not really.
Okay, then
Yeah.
I can do that.
Okay,
It's
great.
on Friday, right, the one day.
Mhm, the
Yes.
race. So you will have had the October meeting prior, correct?
Yes.
Nicole, I have a quick question
Mhm.
before we move on. We hired Patrick for automotive.
Correct.
Is there anything else he has to do to be in that role?
He will have to, just like all non-licensed people that come in from the field, that he'll have to go through the teacher preparation program. It's called CTEP, the Career Technical Education Teacher Preparation Program, which is a 4-year program. And we pay for all of those courses for the teachers, but he does have to do the work during that time. But the courses are organized around classroom instruction. So although it is a lot of work, it's also very helpful. In addition, he'll be assigned mentors here. He actually is going to have 2 mentors here. And Jillian, part of her new job, remember, is doing side-by-side coaching with new staff too.
Is that a certificate or a degree program? What does it end up being?
You earn your teaching certificate.
Thank you.
So you end up a fully licensed teacher.
After 4 years.
Most people come in with a very good understanding of the technical subject that they're teaching, but some of the instructional, like how to manage a class, how to do a lesson plan, all those things that are technical to being a teacher, those are not expected from people that, well, pretty much anyone that is in another job that comes into teaching. And CTEP is it without having to go get a 4-year degree in education and do student teaching and all the kinds of things that go with becoming a certified teacher. I wouldn't call it a fast track. It takes 4 years, but it is a streamlined way to get someone who has instruction or has instructor capabilities in a technical subject like we usually teach here, to get them the teacher credentials so that they know how to do the rest of the job. So.
Thank you.
And then the third thing I just wanted to alert the board is that I did meet with Sheila Sewell and Patrick Green, the superintendents of Addison Northwest and Mount Abraham school districts, and Caitlin Steele, the principal of Middlebury High School, the principal of Mount Abe High School, and the principal of Virgins High School this morning. We're starting a conversation around the statutes and board rules in the state of Vermont governing CTE. As you know, my first year here, I just tried to really learn and listen and find out what the current situation was. And both Wendy and I are finding that many things are not aligning to the state statute and board, not that we're doing, but that sending school districts are doing. And it seems very much just that they don't know. So we want to start the conversation about what those rules are and then how we can collaborate on getting closer and closer to the spirit and intent of those rules around CTE.
Nicole, are there some issues like related to what you're talking about?
There are. So I'm planning on doing sort of a separate board presentation on this because it's big. It's a big deal, lots of stuff. But specifically, there's really pretty clear language in Vermont that K-12 school districts are not allowed to compete or duplicate the efforts of career technical centers. So they are not supposed to offer classes that are the same content that we offer. And we have quite a lot of that going on in all 3 school districts. Also, the minutes for our pre-technical courses we have traditionally tried to work around the schedules of the high schools, but we are required to have, of all things, CTE is the one place you have to have seat time. You don't have to have seat time in high school anymore, but you do have to have seat time in CTE, and we have really strict rules about how many minutes of time students have to be in a class per week in order for it to count. And that's challenging with the different schedules that we're mapping through. And then we also have some smaller things. We have our career technical education counselor is required to do 4-year plans with students similar to what they do at the high school level. And there seems to be a little bit of conflict there because it feels like there's a duplication of effort and people are worried about that. So we would just want to make sure that everyone understands that Amy's doing her job when she's doing those things. And just some other things like that. So I think it's first just having everybody understand what the statute and the rules are. And then as we identify pain points, how do we collaborate through those?
So if I may ask, if you have a 4-year plan here and a 4-year plan at the high school, can't those two be merged or?
That's exactly right. It
Yeah.
wouldn't make sense for all of us to be doing our own thing. So how do we collaborate so that the student is hearing the same message from both entities,
Okay.
right?
Okay.
And there's some lack of clarity across all 3 school districts on certain issues, and then some issues are isolated to each of the schools. So it's an effort to really start the conversation with the sending schools to make sure that everybody kind of comes together and that we're all operating, within the guidelines.
Because some of those teaching situations have been going on for a very long time.
Yes.
Right.
So
Yeah.
all of a sudden, you find out it's not really what it's supposed to be, and that's going to
Right.
cause some issues.
It absolutely is, which is why we're taking this as a let's learn first together and then collaborate on solutions approach.
Okay, any chance the auditor has joined us? All right. How much time do you need, Rebecca?
Mine's pretty brief. I
Okay.
Your packet.
Okay, so let's go ahead and move on to that then. The business manager's report.
Just, the biggest thing is just wanted to get a report out on our Tyler technology software system. We went live on July 1st and it's going pretty well. With any new software system, there's some bugs and some things to work out. We need to train the teachers during in-service, so they all have access to their employee portals and they're able to do their purchase requisitions through the system. So we're having less people in the office, which is really nice. And we're able to be a little quicker with the turnaround and getting those things approved for them. So that's been really helpful. And as we continue to go, we're just gonna keep adding new features as we keep moving forward.
And so all the data transition has all been,
It's gonna be complete next week.
Next week, okay. Okay. All right. And other than that, was there,
Other than that, just
Okay.
status quo for you.
all right, great. So I guess we should just keep moving through the agenda.
Yeah, I can point out that the reason I gave you a paper copy of the audit materials is because they're still drafts and I don't want them out in the wild until they're finalized. So you have those to support tonight's presentation and you'll get a new copy when it's all final. Okay.
And I think you want them back tonight.
Yeah, I'll collect the draft audit materials again, just because they're not complete yet.
Okay, so I think that moves us on to the rolling 6-semester average. There was some confusion. This is not a simple thing as to how we get counted. It's not how many people came here last year. It's how many people have come here over the last 3 years, kind of averaged out. So it can be confusing, and it probably isn't a bad idea for us to go over this again, especially for people who haven't been here for explanations of this nature before. So did you?
Yeah, so Beck has put together, I think, a really nice graphic of how this works. It's not intuitive and it's also not up to date. So when we are talking about, if you look at, so we're looking at the colorful sheet that has the blocks on it that says 6-semester average at the top. I'll wait for you all to get there. Wendy's holding it up. Perfect.
It's also on mine.
Yes. So this, I'll let, Becca's going to help me out here. So I'll let her do the explanation. And then I just want to talk a little bit about total monies at the end and where those total monies come from. So take it from there.
Okay. So as we said, it's kind of a complicated funding formula, as most of them are in Vermont for school education. And the 6-semester average has been around for as long as I can remember. And really what it does is it's kind of, it works to our favor and sometimes it doesn't. It's kind of one of those catch-alls to protect us because you never really know what your student enrollment's going to be. So trying to explain that, putting this together, there's 3 years of information on here. One was for last year, the billable FTEs. The one is the middle one, fiscal year 25, is this year, billable FTEs. And then the last one will be for 26 for the budget they will be building. So we're still waiting for some information on that. So I color coded it so that you could see how the years continue from year to year and how they fall off. So like you look at the top one and you'll see fiscal year 2022, the fall of 21 is used for that calculation. And then it again is used in 25, but then it falls off for 26. So you lose 2 every year. Once again, you can see the spring of 22, the yellow goes through and the blue. And that's how it works. And so even if we had we had 200 kids this semester, we wouldn't really see the benefit of that until another 18 months out or so. And then we'll get that to carry through for the 6 semesters. So it really is made as a safety net so that if you have a really low year or a really high year, both for the sending schools and for us for budgeting purposes, so that you're never really caught way out of whack, because that could happen pretty easily.
Right, and the takeaways I just wanted for the board here is that even when we work really hard and we do really well with enrollment, we don't see that benefit in the current school year. So it's kind of a lagging indicator. The other piece is that for total monies, so the sending school districts do not foot the entire bill of the tuition rates. So the sending school districts pay roughly 60%, am I correct there? And then the state pays roughly 40%. So when we have our tuition rate, that whole tuition rate isn't coming from your sending schools. 60% of that tuition rate is coming from your sending schools, and then 40% is coming directly from the state. And that's a common misconception that the school districts are having to take that entire chunk out of their budget. It's only the 60% of it.
And at the bottom of this year, I tried to give an example of how it would look for this year. So our frozen average is 138.61 times the tuition rate. That would be the total bill rate would be $4.4 million. And then I broke it down, how much will belong to the schools and how much will get part of our state education grant.
Yeah, Bill?
Yeah, so Nicole, the discussion you're having with the 3 other sending schools, that should actually improve our numbers here if they're teaching something that we're actually supposed to be teaching. Is that correct?
No, it makes it worse for us because those students should be taking CTE classes, not general education electives.
Okay.
So essentially, when a high school offers something that is the same as us, and a student is in the high school class and not in a CTE class, A, it doesn't count as CTE, and B, they're not coming to us and they don't have an industry professional teaching them generally, and we are not collecting any tuition for them.
But it's not technically okay for them to offer that class.
Correct, that's against state statute.
Right, that's kind of what I was asking.
Yeah.
Long term, I think, yeah.
Right.
Correct.
So-
Over time, if we're able to collaborate and sort of start moving away from that happening, those students should be coming here and taking those courses here.
Okay.
Right, that should help our enrollment long-term, correct?
That's kind of what I-
Many of them, not all of them necessarily.
Right.
Because some people would not take it because of they don't want to go to a career center, they want to do something else.
Right.
They're taking a single class, not a program. So we can't say 100% will
Right.
come here, but a good number would. So,
Thank you.
yes,
Go ahead,
go
yeah.
ahead, Christina.
Oh,
We have our auditor, so,
is it?
yeah.
Okay, I can wait if you want.
No, go ahead. I would like
Just
to
a
wrap
couple
this item up.
Couple quick questions.
Mhm.
Does the fall projection represent the students that unenrolled? And then I'm curious about the sending school, 2 million plus. How does that get split up between the sending schools? Is
Great
it
question.
a third of everybody pays,
So when the billing comes out, we get a list from the state, which is, as we said, frozen, kind of like the numbers we get. And we bill it out to each district dependent on the children or the students.
Their student population.
Right,
Okay.
six
That's
semester
what I was
average. So it's not like I cut it a third,
Okay,
because you might have someone that comes like from Slate Valley. We have a couple of students that come from there. And so like they might have like a 0.5 FTE, so they get billed that. So every district gets billed for the students that are part of their 6 semester average.
gotcha. Okay.
And the number there that's in the red that says estimated is just a number that we're kind of toying with right now. Nicole might have more information on that, but that's never we threw in there.
Yeah, this is our, as of today,
Mhm.
our FTE. And yes, all the drop students are already out of this number. So
Okay.
this is an accurate as of today number of students.
Okay, great.
And just to clarify for the school board, even that we bill based on where the child lives. So even if they're by choice in another district, that district doesn't have to foot the bill if they live somewhere else. Wherever they live pays for them.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, were there any more questions about the rolling 6-semester average? We will come back to the next page that has color on it, the attending PAHCC. That is the next item, preliminary enrollment data, but it looks like our auditor has joined us.
Perfect.
And I believe we're ready to see a presentation. So, sorry, your name is really small there. I can't read it.
Ron Smith.
Ron. So, welcome.
Ron Smith. Listen, and sorry, so you're gonna hear me hack a little bit and wheeze. I had an asthma attack and just got over COVID, so I don't think you wanted me at it. So, but I'll certainly cut it out. I'll certainly cut it out for this. So, Nicole, how do you want to start this?
Why don't you go ahead?
And somewhere on here, I'm sure I'm allowed to share my screen, so just bear with me 1 second. It says sharing is not turned on.
Oh, we're working it
We're
right
working
now.
on it.
Would it be okay if I turned off some lights, everybody?
Yeah, actually.
What I thought I'd do, you guys, is this, with the exception of get some information and a conversation piece that we're gonna have on your food bank that you used to do. Local agencies there. This thing is virtually in its final form, so I thought I'd just walk through and get the financial highlights of 23, get some of the, and things that we saw during that 23 audit and kind of bring us today. And and really, that works for you all. That's what I'd like to do, so.
They are still trying to figure out how you can share.
You might have to promote him to attendee.
He's actually, he's a panelist.
Oh, he is on as a panelist. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's what I'm a little surprised why he doesn't have the ability to share. 'Cause the normal attendee would not have that.
Yeah. Okay.
It
says change role to attendee.
That would.
Yeah, that would change
him
him back to.
Okay.
Well, the other thing I could do if this turns into a struggle for you all, highlights of this thing, and when I'm out there doing the 24 audit, maybe I can suggest me physically showing up at another board meeting, kind of doing like a final walkthrough, this audit, and probably more so talking about 24 and where we're at.
Okay, and Ron, they
I'll leave that
also,
up to you.
yeah, and the board does have a hard copy of,
Okay,
of the
let's-
management
let me
letter. Okay.
Let me bring it through some pages. That's
Okay.
great. That's great. So you guys all have a hard copy. Here's the first page I'm gonna start. That's gonna be page 15. So that's gonna be your balance sheet for all the funds, that you guys had, at the this past year for 6/30/23. And with your general fund, which is really the main education fund, of who you are and what you do there, for the district. And then you're gonna see the for lack of a better word, some of the other ones, that you guys do and operate on your business, your building and equipment reserve fund, the big renovation project that you've got going on here right now, a big scholarship that you have, and then some other various monies that you have tied into your kids, the vocational, types of services that education curriculum that you offer, for your school. Those are the other pots of money that you operate in addition, to your education curriculum. So the first column we're going to start with is the one that really kind of focuses on the technical school district, your mission, to educate these kids, in that area, is the balance sheet for the general fund. I'm in the first column on page 15. You all.
15.
1-5.
Sorry.
That's why it's very
I'm
confusing.
going.
There you go.
There we go.
Yeah, so if you look on that page 15, everybody there, everybody see that column that says general fund?
Yep.
That's your major fund, that's who you are, that's what you do. And, the end of 6/30/23, it talks about your financial condition. So basically, you owned everything of $838,000 of assets, everything you owned, against everything you owed of $412,000 worth of liabilities and obligations that you had, okay? And that's, that's patient at 23. So everything that you, based upon everything that you owe, leaves you your fund balance or your carryover balance for the Hannaford School District for $425,970 as of 6/30/23. That's your carryover balance on 6/30/23. Everybody see where I'm getting that number? Second number
Yep.
up from the bottom. Everybody see that?
Mhm.
Okay, and I'll bring you back in time, because the institutional knowledge, about the center, that's about a $20,000 increase over 6/30/23. Okay, so what's that mean? I believe, with my recollection, and we'll see that in a minute, is the between what you took in and what you spent from your general fund on what you guys estimated, it was almost dead on. I think it was about $20,000. All both to the positive between your revenue estimates, and your expense estimates, about $20,000. And that's an increase up over 6/30/22. So when you take the $275,000 that's been assigned and committed for 6/30, for things that happened after this fiscal year for 6/30/24, you're left with about $134,000, that's really not attached or not assigned. And the first thing that I would ask, and I'm actually gonna just lower my screen here so I can kind of like see around the room. Nicole, you can be my eyes, because I can only see about 2 to 3 people. How many people have been on that board about 5 or 6 years? So they go. And I was actually sitting in that room about 5 or 6 years ago when you guys didn't have any carryover balance of money. Is there any of that institutional knowledge left on that board?
I think we have 3 board members still that were here then.
You guys remember that in that conversation, because that was a big talking point, back then, is we really didn't have any discretionary money, whatsoever for the district. And we were talking about things like funding future building reserves, capital reserves for equipment and things like that. So it was really kind of a big conversation. Our financial housekeeping affairs in order. And Nicole, I can't see them, but I'm just wondering if they're shaking their heads, remembering the fact, that this district had very little money. It's
Yes.
never been, like, there's pots of money that existed. And so when you guys came up with a very calculated plan to kind of like adjust future budgets and address some of the problems that you had financially, at that district, and, really do some financial. Cole, are those like 3 and acknowledge?
Right.
Yeah, we came from nothing.
Right.
We came from nothing. So there's good news. There's good news. What we've been doing and what we really kind of addressed, you all, as a plan here over those 5 is working. You've got a carryover balance, okay? That number on page 15 that I just talked about, and everybody see that 134,000 on that same page?
No.
That was a negative.
No.
Everybody see
No,
that?
it's not on
Second.
page 15.
Yes, it's not
Okay,
there.
hold on. So I'm actually on page 15, statement C, and I'm the third number up from the bottom. Is that not there, you all?
Nope.
No, it's hidden.
Statement C, top right-hand corner, does it say balance sheet governmental funds?
Yeah.
Yep.
June 30th,
And everybody's
2023.
everybody's looking at the first column, general fund.
Yeah,
And I'm looking from the third number up from the bottom, where, and the second one says total fund balance is a 425,970.
Yeah.
And then the unassigned of 134,214. Does everybody not see that?
No, we
No,
have
it's
409, 214.
Yeah, ours says 409, 214.
275 wasn't taken out of that number, I think, Ron.
So, so Nicole, when we get the information from the accrued compensated balances, the draft's been updated.
Oh,
Knows where
okay.
I'm going
So
involved.
this is
You know,
the
you'll
current.
see that, in the final version. So sadly, I got a better copy than you do. But if you add what I did, it's a positive number is the good news. And my point really kind of being, you know, with that number, you know, is that 6 years ago, it wasn't a positive number. So this is financially, we've kind of crawled out of a hole. And then if you look at the next column with your building and equipment reserve fund, everybody see that? Okay, that money sitting in that building and equipment reserve fund, that was a very calculated plan to put that money over there to start really kind of having a little foresight, looking in the crystal ball, acknowledging that you're gonna need money down the road to projects like you're doing now, et cetera. So you guys have actually put money into a reserve account for future building, you know, and future renovations. And that's in addition to that. And like I said, 6 or 7 years ago, your balance sheet didn't look like this. It didn't look like this. And this is through a lot of good heart, you know, probably some tough decisions to make out there, you know, at your district. But, you know, I'm trying to one way in 6 years. And those first columns are indicative of it. Because if you went back in that time frame, going, and I kind of hit, you know, for your district, those numbers weren't there. Those numbers weren't there for sure, you know, back then. So through your management, through your, you know, your guidance, through probably a lot of tough decisions that you guys had to make for your district, really come out of that, you know, lack of that financial doldrum and really put you in a good, solid financial position for the district, you know, for 6/30/23. Better. I don't think it's ideal. I think we all, you know, like to see that with some more reserve money, you know, but I think you guys have come a long way, especially when you're able to, you know, to look where you were before, where you are now. And that really tells the story, you know, really, as far as that goes. So that's good news. So I'll stop there and ask if anybody has any questions up until then.
I could just let the board know one thing, that in the budget for this current year, we have budgeted for $130,000 for the carryover to help support the budget, so. We're pretty close on to that.
Support the budget, is that what I heard?
Yeah, we allocated $130,000 for this year's budget, so.
And I think you actually allocated some more money, you know, into that building reserve account and that's good planning, you know, you know, for your 24 budget, I think, and I think that you guys allocated some more money into that building equipment reserve account, yes?
I don't think we did for 24, Ron, we only used $130,000 to offset the general fund budget. We didn't budget anything, for this year for the building reserve equipment.
Bear with me 1 second, you all, here, so I can get the number, okay? So it looks like for fiscal year 24, I'm just trying to get into the current year, because 24 and 25 are like in my mind now, because I'm kind of putting 23 in back of me, you know, and in 20. I believe in 24, you guys used like $275,000, you know, of carryover balance for this year that just ago. Is that
That's
correct?
That's
That is
correct.
correct.
Okay, so sorry, and then I believe in FY 25, you guys actually used some more money, but I also think that you funded your building reserve account in FY 25 as well. Is you kind of using that? Is that correct?
We did not allocate anything for building reserve for this year. We used $130,000 of fund balance to support
To offset tuition.
tuition for this year, but we didn't make any concessions for the.
No
building
transfers
reserve.
to the reserve?
No.
I thought I saw somewhere when I was,
It was the previous years we had,
Mhm.
but we didn't have the actual cash flow because we were trying to maintain the tuition rate.
so just kind of like spinning off onto that conversation, being able to use, for budget tax relief, being able to use money to fund your reserve accounts, whatever they may look like, you know, in the road. You guys weren't in a position, you know, 6 or 7 years ago, I was really, you know, with that, and now you are, and that's just prudent being responsible, you know, with your money.
Okay, was there anything else you wanted to point out to us, Ron, or?
Yeah, just to kind know, just a couple other things, you all. You know, obviously if somebody said, I always like to say this, hey, Ron, difference between this huge renovation, it's an $8 million plus that you got going on would be an eyesore. And that's in the third column, you know, that you see. And I'll tell you, that really strained your infrastructure internally for like, you know, following the math, you know, on that project and getting it into your books, you guys. I know that there was a lot of back and forth with Becca and Samantha and Ally, you know, just making sure that they got the right. That was really kind of a labor intensive project. We got all the renovation, you know, captured in the right fund. And I'm pretty confident we did, but there was a lot of work, you know, to kind of do that, you know, for sure. To kind of say your books were set up, but they were ideally set up to accommodate this renovation to where there was some additional work that we had to work with you all to get. You know, I'd say is a fair statement. There was some sloppiness, you know, certainly in that area to kind of get to that amount with you all. And that delays and some exchange of information back and forth with us, to you, you know, Becca, you know, kind of making sure that, but we're pretty confident, you know, that we've got that map, you know, exactly, you know, but there was a struggle to do it, is my point. So, and that's about the financial highlights, you know, everything else, you know, out there. I mean, the good news is we've come a long ways, you know, and I think it's more of housekeeping issues, as you'll see in your management practice issues, you know, and I have Nicole, they had a copy of that.
They do. Do you want to comment on any of, we have the management letter in front of us.
I haven't really had a chance to read it. But.
So, and about that management letter, I mean, there's a lot of right ways to do things, and that's just our, like, suggest others, you know, looking in, to address some best practice issues. There certainly were some best practice issues, as you guys will see in writing. One of the areas of concern, you know, that we had was a matter dealing with a regulatory agency that I believe has finally been addressed, you know, as we sit here and speak. But really, and this is something that also has reared its head and continues to rear its head, because I can remember this rearing its head, you know, 6 or 7 years ago with us, and it's rearing its head again. Taking care of the kids' money, you guys. I mean, there needs to be some better practices with that, because the information that we would expect to see there that kind of supports all these student activities that they do, you know, in addition to their curriculum. You know, there's some best practices that certainly need to look at there, because there's time cash receipts were missing, supporting documentation. That's kind of, and saying you guys need to do a lot better job taking care of that. That's a vital function. If you're a school, I would have people out there that just is usually the kids, you know, perform a lot of things outside your general fund operating budget. And you guys are custodians, fiduciary agents of that, and good paperwork makes good friends, and better paperwork in that area. So, and there's a host of other suggestions and comments, and Nicole, I can go through it if you want, or we can give your board some time to look at it, and when I'm physically there in a few weeks, we'll board with some depth. That's completely up to you if they're just going to see it.
Seems like that would be better.
Yeah, and I would remind everyone that we have a draft here, and we are going to get an updated draft. So it might be better to look at the revised version of that. And as some people have expressed, we haven't had time to absorb this giant stack of paper. It was just handed to us, so and we can't take this home tonight. So
Can that be sent to us in a link?
You can, so I want you to be able to read it. It cannot be out in the wild because it is not a final draft.
Yep.
So if you want to take it and read it, that's fine. You just have to commit to shredding it or doing something with it so that it doesn't get out in the wild. When we have the final audit, it will absolutely be a public document. But until it's final, it's not final. Right.
Well, you can send me, just so we'll make sure, because I know that there are a few versions of this in draft, that, you know, based on all the conversations we're having, send me an email, Nicole, so I can make sure you've got the final version,
Right.
you know, of this draft based on all.
Yeah, because at
Right.
least we need the updated Schedule C that he was referring to.
Right.
that had the
Yep.
incorrect figure.
And I would have changed 7 or 8 other pages of the goal.
Okay,
So,
So in answer to your question, Ron, I think we would like some time with the document before we go over the specifics that you were asking about. Do we want to cover that tonight? I think that might be better covered in a later meeting.
sure.
Okay?
and our October meeting is on October 17th. Ron, are you here then?
Now, listen, Nicole just said,
Okay,
because I'm not exactly great at this one.
Got it.
If you want to send me an email, I'll make sure that I am. Nicole. I'll make sure that I am. I know I'm in Vermont for the first 2 weeks of that, too. And yeah, he's my kid. I'm under the gun.
So if there are no more quick questions, we have an executive session where we would like Mr. Smith to join us. So, and since his time is limited, we'd like to move into that executive session now rather than at the end of the meeting. So can I have a motion to move into executive session?
Do you need all the code and everything?
We do.
Oh, all right.
Is it this one?
Yes, I move that we go into executive session for 1 VSA 313A1, topics requiring premature general public knowledge.
I'll second.
And,
Oh, sorry.
Oh,
And
and-
would clearly place a public body or person involved at a substantial disadvantage. And then 1 VSA 313A-3, appointment, or evaluation of public officer or employee.
so
I'll
moved
second that.
and seconded. Any
Are
just,
we-
Can I turn on the
anybody
lights
else
again?
Yes.
Join us?
our
I'd like to invite
Nicole,
Wendy.
Okay.
Nicole and Wendy?
If that's